This video is originally owned by HSC Study Guide and translated to English language. This video is for HSC interview sections for fire safety. For various possible questions and answer sessions during interview sections. Aside from interviews, you can also use this to learn about fire safety. So let's go straight to business. What is fire? Most of us, we know what fire is and what leads to fire. Fire is a chemical reaction of fuel which requires an amount of heat, oxygen, and during these reactions, heat and light produces. There are three things required to start a fire: oxygen, heat, and fuel. What are the elements of fire? For fires to start, we need three things: fuel, oxygen, and heat. Let's say, for example, in a particular room, for there to be fire, there needs to be a source of fuel, there needs to be oxygen, and there needs to be a source of heat. These three things combine together to give us fire. If one of them is absent, fire will not occur. So the principle of eliminating fire or extinguishing fire is to remove one of the elements. And the fourth one that we also talk about is the chemical reaction. So when you have a fuel, when you have oxygen, when you have heat, there should be a form of chemical reaction that makes them to lead to fire, because it's the chain reaction that brings them together and causes fire to occur. Fuel can be in liquid, solid, or gaseous form. Oxygen is available in our environment, and the source of heat and the chemical reaction combines them together. So let's talk about the fire triangle. Like we said earlier, three elements are required to come together to give us a fire: the oxygen, heat, and fuel. The fuel can come from various sources. We have solid, we have the liquid, we have the gas. The example of the solid fuel is the papers around, the solid materials around that can combust and lead to fire. The gaseous are the gasolines, are domestic gas cooker at home, and the liquid is the petrol, the diesel, and the likes. Oxygen is present in abundance in air. Your heat is a source of ignition, and like we said, if any of the elements is removed, there will be no fire, or the fire will be extinguished properly. And that is the concept behind the making of fire extinguishers. So now let's talk about the various classes of fire. The classification of fire is based on the source of fuel, the substance that is burning, or where the fuel is coming from. We have basically 6 classifications or 6 classes of fire: class A, B, C, D, E, and class F. You might get to know about some other form of classification, but it doesn't matter. What matters most is to understand the concept behind these classifications and why there are little differences. Talking about class A, we are talking about combustible materials, flammable solids. Examples: we have the wood, we have the papers, we have rubbers, and the likes. Solid materials generally, you can add yours in the comment section. Class B talks about liquid. A very quick way to remember class A, class B, and class C is our normal classification of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. So class B talks about liquid, such as your petrol, your diesel, your paints, and the likes. Class C talks about gases, like I mentioned earlier. A good example of your gas is your hydrogen, your domestic cooking gas at home, butane, methane, and various forms of gases that you might have in your home and in your workplace. Class D now talks about combustible metals. Combustible metals. Example of such is your magnesium, your aluminium, your sodium, potassium, and the likes. These are all combustible metals. And you should know that your combustible metals can also be available in your workplace and also at home. Class E talks about electrical appliances, electrical equipment, electricity. Some people do not know that electricity also generates fire. The current that flows through an electrical equipment, electrical cable, is the source of fuel. Once there is current flowing and there are other things that are not in good condition and has come together to lead to fire, a continuous supply of these current will continuously lead to the fire expanding. So the source of fuel for electrical fire is the current. That is why they advise that once you're working on electrical equipment or once there's fire as a result of electricity, what you should do is to switch off the source of current. Now, the last classification is your cooking oils. That is your kitchen oils and fats. This also, in numerous times, has led to fire in our kitchen. And that is why it's advisable that in your kitchen, you have a fire extinguisher. When using your cooking oil and fat, you should not heat the oil to a temperature that it will bring out fire. It's very important that we know this and we'll put this at the back of our minds. So if you've listened carefully to this video, you would remember I told you about the idea behind fire extinguishers, and we're talking about that in our next video. For all your safety needs, for all your safety trainings, management trainings, safety trainings on various safety topics, on various safety courses, bespoke trainings, you can reach out to us at any point in time. This is proudly sponsored by Corda Safety Consult.